Hey guys, welcome back to my ambition.
Hello.
Hello. It's Tiffany and
Uh,
Lady.
Oh, Lady Alex. Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love the title, but anyway, it's nice to be back again. This weekend I've had a fun weekend. Just come back from a wedding. I think the
Oh,
last wedding probably.
the what? The last
The
wedding.
last wedding.
Oh,
I think everyone's done
last
now.
wedding. There's a couple of people who
Okay.
I won't name names, but
Okay.
I still want to go to a wedding, guys. So if you're listening and you're not married, I'm talking to you. Have one so I can party at your wedding. I've had a much less glamorous weekend. Do you know what? My sister's at Glastonbury, and
Ooh.
she messaged me with some like photos and stuff. And 10 years ago, that's not the last time I went, but this time 10 years ago, I was there with her. And this year, I realized I'm spending the weekend potty training. So, how things have changed. I feel like we could rename this podcast to the Potty Training Chronicles.
Yes. I love that.
But I'm pleased to report a lot less pairs of dirty pants this week. So, all good.
Okay.
He's getting the hang of it. It has involved some rather extreme bribery on my part. And I'm sorry because we were at Tiffany's house last weekend. I'm sorry if he did wee on your carpet because I think he might have done.
That's okay. My carpet's in all sorts. We won't even get into that. Yeah, and I've given up. I started to really clean carpet now. It's like you have kids, just manage your expectations. But no,
That leads us in nicely, doesn't it? Lesson
manage your
one.
expectations. But no, the wedding, I had a great time at this wedding. I think one thing that stood out to me is how much fun I have by myself. I was there with my husband, but I'm very good at just going on a dance floor and having a bloody good time. And I love that. I think it's just like I just love a good dance. I love it. Well, anyway,
You know what? So do I. I'm probably a horrible dancer, but I honestly don't care. I
yeah, this is
honestly
it.
don't care. I
Yeah,
will go for it as well.
yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a good way to kind of get into the topic for this week. So we are going to discuss the lessons that comes with motherhood. I think there's a lot of life lessons that come with motherhood, but we will select a few that we've learned in that transition of pre-motherhood and post-motherhood, and hopefully, shed some light on what we're experiencing.
yeah.
Yeah, Alex, I'll let you get started.
Okay. I mean, we said we would write down 5 each, but I've written loads down. I think I've learned a lot.
Alex, I ain't got all day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We gotta get
Yeah,
this done.
okay.
Gotta get it done, guys. Yeah, I'm oh, I think it's like the football's gonna be restarting soon. And I was like, I'll record it in half time, Eddie. We'll be done. But we won't. You'll still have to do some childcare. Okay, so cracking on. Being less competitive, which is a weird one. For most people, it's all about like being more competitive, but that is not something I need to be able to do. I need to be able like to step back. And for me, I've always been a competitive person. If there's a competition or something like that, I'm not in it to have a good time. I want to win. So for me, not competing over what your child can or can't do. And I think like you've got such a good attitude about it of they all do things at different times.
Oh,
And
100%. Gosh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think potty training's really brought it home to me because for ages I've been like, how has Tiffany got Sebastian using the potty immediately? Like, why won't Ted just do it? Just use the potty, please. And he's done really well now, but I couldn't have forced him to do it. Like, we've been on for months if I'd tried to get him to do it at the same age as Sebastian. He just wasn't ready.
Mhm.
And I think that's quite a big lesson for me to just kind of go with what they can do and what they're willing and able to do. And maybe that bleeds into my normal life of like, just enjoy the thing. You don't have to win. And actually, I hear
Oh,
myself
what?
saying to Ted all the time because he's like running up the stairs and he's like, I won. I'm like,
Oh no.
not everything is a
No,
competition.
oh dear.
So I need
Yeah.
to take that advice myself. And I think that's a lesson I've learned.
No, that's a good lesson. I think I've learned I appreciate that with parenting. I think every child is different. And I know it sounds so cliche, but work with your child. I think sometimes I look at Sebastian, I look at Ted as well, and they're very different. Ted is pretty much a genius, like in that way. No, but he is. Let's. That's the reality. He's very like bright. He loves academics. I mean, he can read. Sebastian cannot, and I'm fine with that. But at the same time, I think Sebastian is, super calm and super like just very considerate and like
Yeah,
think
I
about
envy the
everything.
chill
Yeah,
because
but
he
then
is a
yeah.
lovely, lovely little boy.
Well, they'll go out into the world and do incredible things, and the world needs fast movers and slower movers. So I think I just, I think my approach to parenting, it's like just see how it evolves and encourage whatever they demonstrate an interest in. Yeah, that's the way to do it. But no, that's a good lesson. My first lesson is it links to that, but it's more about being more present. So I've always struggled to be present because I'm quite ambitious and thinking about the future, or sadly sometimes ruminating about the past. I am quite good
Okay.
at like looking back or looking forward. I don't know. I just think I overthink things a lot, and I do get lost in my thoughts and my plans. But I think having children is really teaching me about the joy of this moment and the fact that everyone says this, but the days are long, the years are short, and I'm always looking at them thinking they are going to grow so quickly. So how can I capture more of now? How can I just be here more so that I don't miss it?
No, I think that's a really super good point. And like I've actually written, put down the phone, put down your phone, like, especially when you're with your kid. Like I am guilty of sometimes having an earphone in and listening to a podcast while I do childy stuff, if it's like pretend play, which I really don't like. But I think for them to kind of look at you and your face be like hidden behind your screen all the time, and they just know that you're not engaging with them. Like that aspect for me, like I really agree with you on being present about that.
There's a video I will have sent you. It's so sad. It's a video it's an advert about this, about parents putting their phones down. Someone shared it on LinkedIn. So you have to watch it. It's just really, it will impact you a lot. So there's a child playing with Lego, and then the parent is, oh God, I can't, but the child's playing with something, the parent is doing their own thing, and they're trying to feed the child, but they're not looking at the child, they're looking at the phone, and they're trying to feed this child, and the child is like eating or whatever. And then before you know it, the child is growing up, but they're not noticing that, but they're still feeding the child. And then it zooms to the child being a grown-up, and they're still trying to feed the child. That's like you're still doing the same thing, but I've grown up, but you've missed it.
And you've missed it. Yeah.
It really makes you think. But I think it's hard as well, though. I mean,
it's so addictive. I mean, we were looking after my friend's dog. This was before Ted was born. And I was lying in bed and I was looking at my phone, and the dog used its nose to knock my phone out of my hand. And I was like, okay, sorry, I wasn't giving you enough attention there. But that, if a dog can feel put out that you're on your phone,
imagine how your child will feel.
What's your kid thinking?
Wow, that's true. But one tip I've learned for this, guys, it sounds really simple, is that I learned this from Modern Wisdom, my favorite podcast. It's a guy called Chris Williamson, and he was saying how what he does now is throughout the day he will have 30 seconds of being super present. So if he's in a car, he would super like run his fingers over the steering wheel or just feel like some minor bumps there, but he would focus on something very tiny in that moment and allow himself to really take it in. And by doing that, it just ends up having this amazing tiny moments throughout the day that's really present. So what I do is sometimes I will just stop what I'm doing and I'll look at my daughter and I'll look at her hands and her feet and look at something about her, and I'll just like almost save it in my mind. And that really helps me, I think, just to kind of really take that moment in.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, but it's been a good tip for me, just that 30 seconds of being present. Because again, the days can be very blurry.
Yeah. In my head there, I just got the image of her with that lipstick on when she
oh,
dear.
Yes. Let's not get into that. But that one just nothing is out of bounds. Nothing. Like perfumes and everything is just has to be grabbed and opened and sprayed. Just leave my things alone.
Yeah, she's not missing it. She's present in every moment of her life.
Exactly. Particularly for a book.
I think one that we were both talking about, and I think that we've both learned, is about not being judged. Or, well, I mean, it's quite hard to not be judgmental, but being less, let's say, being less judgmental. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yes, life lesson on being less and judgmental. Yes, unless you walked a mile in someone's shoes, you just don't know what they're experiencing. And I think, especially as parents, I mean, I've had times when I've been with other people and they've spoken about other people's style of parenting. Oh, that parent doesn't take their child swimming, they don't take their child out. And I'm like, but I've met that person, they seem a little bit anxious to me. So I think they might be struggling themselves with meeting new people. How do you then expect them to then take their children to do things with other people? So I think we just have to have a little bit of grace to understand that everyone, there's a child in all of us, there's a child in every parent. So that person might just be doing their best, and we might think, oh, they're watching too much screen. So now I'm just like, no, it's hard as it is. Let's give them some grace. Let's be a bit more understanding and just let other people carry on. And just, I'll rather fix the problems in my life than trying to
I think that's a really good point.
and just criticize them. I don't. Yeah, it's not relevant. Let people just carry on with their lives.
And I think it's super easy to be a perfect parent before you've had any. When you're like, I will never let my child watch a tablet in a restaurant, and then you're like,
here's
please watch the tablet. Here you go. Shh. Let mummy have 5 minutes. And before we recorded, I was just saying to you about Catherine, who gets a regular shout out on this podcast. Her mum used to always say to me and Catherine, it's a good job you two are so perfect, when we would inevitably be sort of slagging off somebody that we went to school with. And that's kind of stuck with me as well, because then you think, oh, actually, yeah, there's so many things that people could look at in my life and criticize, but they don't know the reasons behind that, or why I've chosen to do that, or what the rest of my day was like up to that point. So yeah, I think trying to give yourself grace, but trying to give other people, not judge other people.
Yeah, there's a verse in the Bible that I love, and I've always remembered. It says, you hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly. This from church when I was a kid. Then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. So it's the idea that, you've got the plank, but you're trying to and remove a speck from someone else's eye. So I think sometimes we just have to focus the efforts on yourself and your own improvement. Like, don't criticize other people unless, again, you've walked a mile in their shoes and you know what they're really feeling. And I think, again, it's given me some grace towards my own parents. I'm still working on that, but I now look at my dad and I think, wow, like, he was just trying his best. He had 5 children, trying to make it work. My mom's passed away. So yeah, I feel a little bit more understanding towards him and just appreciating what he was trying to balance and achieve.
Do you know what? I completely agree with you there. I mean, that sounds like a hard lot as well, to be like solo parenting 5 kids. Like, the thought of it puts me on edge, actually. But I used to probably give my mum a lot of hassle, like mentally. I didn't tell her this, but for being quite snappy when we were kids. But my mum has like a autoimmune condition. She's been really ill for a lot of her life. And actually, when I've been feeling not very well and I have to look after a high energy kid, it is really hard to not be snappy. So loads of that, you then realize why your parents were like that. You can really see things from their point of view a lot more.
Definitely. But I think also in the same way, I've learned to kind of think about, what I can work on in myself, but like, what can I improve so that, look, the kids might not say I'm the perfect parent, but at least they can say, okay, my mom truly tried and she wasn't perfect. She had no mistakes, but she was consciously trying to do her best, and she works in herself enough to recognize things that may affect us and try to make progress on those things. So I think it's just that almost awareness, like taking a step back and looking at your parents and looking at your kids in their future and thinking, okay, well, what are the pieces of the puzzles here? Now can I make progress in that way?
Yeah, I totally get that. And you're saying there about not being a perfect parent. There is no perfect parent, and it makes me think, I am gonna swear here, but it's part of the poem. It makes me think of the poem by Philip Larkin. I don't know if you know it.
Oh
but
yes,
it's like, they fuck you up, your mum and dad. They may not mean it, but they do. And like, it's so true, isn't it? Like, that line always gets me, because it's like, however you try to parent, you will always get something wrong. And it isn't possible to be perfect, but actually doing that work on yourself and trying to be self-aware about it, maybe you just make different mistakes to your own
There
parents.
you go. That's
Doesn't
better.
mean you won't make any.
Yeah,
But
I like that. At least make
I
a
think
different mistake.
I think that your attitude of like, my parents will at least, my children will at least be able to say, my mum tried her hardest. And that's what it's about. You're not going to be perfect, but if you actually try and be self-aware about how you're parenting, you've done the best that you can.
This is
And
it.
that's what matters, really.
Yeah, definitely. My other lesson post motherhood is around social media. So I've I used to use social media quite a bit, like Instagram, and I liked it. I used to like Instagram. I used to go on there, look at what this uber successful women and their lovely life and their rings and their Hermes bags, and they've been to London, they're doing this, it's so fabulous, and I respect that. But now I've just I've changed my mind on social media. Now I use it, so now I just think I'd rather be again tied to that, be more present in my own life and focusing on my own self, and you know enjoying life a bit more, and as opposed to this need to see what other people are doing or even post about my own life. I'm losing interest in like social media in that way, and like
Yeah.
the back of my head I'm thinking, why do I need to, unless I'm being paid for it, like why do I need to post about my life and what I'm up to? And also just trying to hopefully shed a lesson to my children. They'll see me not being on social media or smiling or filtering anything, and hopefully they won't think that's necessary as part of life as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just like using social media, and again, another part of it is like I don't understand social media. If I'm being realistic, like I don't know where the pictures going to, who has rights to them, and then I think about potential harm to young people. I just think I grew up with that social media, and I think I had enough lack of confidence and struggles with confidence. So add social media to the mix. I don't know what that means for my children. I've seen a lot about young people and confidence in girls and boys and all these online schemes and daring young people to do things. So because I just don't understand it, and I think it's quite overwhelming, I've taken this conscious decision to just take a step from it and use it for work and just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, I was listening to an interesting podcast actually this week. I listened to so many, I can't remember which podcast, but I was listening to some like a podcast about social media and some of the research that they've done. It's much worse for girls than boys in terms of confidence. And they were saying that, our children are so protected now. You wouldn't let our children our age go to the park with an older sibling or anything like that. They don't go anywhere by themselves. You would walk them to school. Even by when they're sort of 10-year-old, you wouldn't be really letting them go out very much by themselves. But people let their kids go on the internet, and that's where all the predators are now. They're not in the park waiting for them to come along, because that's they're much more likely to get caught. They're all online, and actually, if your kids are online, people have access to your kids in their room at home, like if they're on social media. And thinking about it like that, I was like, oh my God, that is really true, that you can't see what they're doing. So you just see that they've got the phone. You actually haven't, unless you are putting sort of really strong parental controls in place, you've got no idea what they're doing. And the companies, like Meta and stuff like that, really need to be up in their game to protect children, because we're going from them being the most protected generation of children in the outside world to like free reign of talk to people from all over the world, send them pictures of yourself, etc., thinking it's another teenager or child. And I really hope that by the time our kids get to that age, that something will have been done to put more control in place.
I hope so. I really hope so. I think for me, I'm thinking there's a lot around that, and even like what parents can do within their own groups. So hopefully they will be part of groups of friends where we can all agree to no phones amongst them until a certain age. I think that's about what people can insist on as a group. So I'm hoping we can all say, okay, they don't need phones until this age, and then if they do have phones, I mean, I know parents who like check the kids' phones like once every week, pass over your phone. So hopefully we can look. I think this hopefully the theories that I hope would work, but obviously we don't know what will happen online. But I do think in my head, I think less social media, the better life we can have.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. And I think it's just this online world that people can create for themselves, and this needs to be online, and things like TikToks and people sharing things and going viral, and people I'm starting to think like a much older person. Where
Do you know that's coming across? I was just smiling. Like,
but I just do think the less the better. The less the better. Now, why do people need to see what I'm up to? Like,
yeah, I agree with that. And I don't post I think there are maybe about like 3 pictures ever of Ted on social media, mostly where you like it. I think there's like one that came back up in my feed where you can see his face. Okay. And I just don't post pictures of him. I barely post on social media anyway. But I kind of made a decision of, he hasn't said it's all right for me to be sharing this. He's got no say in any of this, so I'm not going to do it really. And yeah, I don't know. A friend asked me if they could post a picture, and I went, well, just put a sticker over his face.
I love that.
Like, I just don't want him out there.
Yeah, I think that the digital modesty is called. I think I definitely practice that now. And again, it goes back to this idea of like keeping life simple. No one cares about what's going on in my life because they've got other things going on in their life, and it's quite nice. I like just being free and living somewhere in the middle of nowhere and no one knowing who I am, and obviously turning up for the podcast and stuff. This is fun, but outside of that, I'm okay to just low key.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And do you know what? In the pandemic, when everyone was doing Zoom quiz upon Zoom quiz,
yes,
I can't remember whose quiz it was, but one of the Zoom quizzes we did, it was really funny actually. They picked Facebook statuses from like a decade ago, and you had to guess who'd written the status, and it was mortifying, the sort of stuff that people were writing on social media 10 years ago. I can't think of an example, but it was like everyone was cringing. It was mortifying, and you're like, oh, I hope it wasn't me saying that.
That digital footprint, isn't it? It's a digital footprint.
Yeah, and I'm so glad it wasn't a thing when I was a teenager or when I was going out in my 20s. Like it was a bit, I guess, in my 20s, but not in the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like getting through your teenage years without it was a real blessing, actually.
So like that stage of life just doesn't exist. There is no.
Yeah.
That makes sense because we change so much. I think that's nothing. We change so much. Like I was not thinking the thoughts I was thinking 10 years ago. So it's like, should that be a reflection of me? Should someone be able to find that and link it back to me when that was a different person? I mean,
yeah.
So
and I think the understanding of permanence when you're 15, 16, like your parents can say this will be out there forever, but you don't have your brain's not fully formed, is it? So you don't have that understanding of permanence, and so it's out there, and they can't understand the consequences of that fully.
Yeah, that's true. So I definitely don't want to implicate my kids in that. I'd rather let them just live anonymously and in the real world and do real things and just take it from there. Mm-hmm. Unless they decide that they want to build something in tech and then they know how to use it intelligently and consciously, then whatever, that's fine. But I think as long as I can, I am just keeping them in the real world.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's not good for any of us, is it, really?
Yeah. Any more life lessons from you, Alex?
My last one, I think, is about taking care of my health, because I have been, I really can't stand exercise. It's never been my thing. I hated it at school, although I was quite good at swimming. Whereas I know you're the complete opposite. You really enjoy exercise. But particularly, I'm over 40 now. I've got a young child. I'm just seeing the importance in taking care of my health and making sure that I protect that time that I have with Ted, and that he doesn't have to take care of me earlier than he needs to, or that he doesn't, no one can mitigate for everything. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to protect your health. And so I've been trying to do some exercise, nothing big, nothing fancy, just some like workouts at home, and trying to focus on eating better. And actually for me that means trying to cut out on some of the ultra processed stuff that's like not really food, is it? Like I've been listening to some podcasts about this, and it's pushing me towards making some changes in my life.
Oh, I like that. So you're doing that with the consciousness of how it would impact Ted's life as well as an adult. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's like a big thought in my mind of actually it's not just about me anymore.
wow,
Good
line. Yeah, I like that.
I'm doing this for him as well. So yeah, that's my last one. It's
Okay.
quite a radical change for me.
No, but I like that. I think it's you're now making decisions from the point of the bigger picture, and you're like, yeah, I think that's a really good lesson. My last one is about time. So
Okay.
yeah, I know we've spoken about this before. I think sometimes I feel this frustration that I can't do more with my time. Like I said to my husband the other day, I wish I had 48 hours in a day. As a mom, I need 48.
I want Bernard's Watch. Do you remember that? Did you watch the program Bernard's Watch? He had a watch that could stop
No.
time. Okay. Bit of
Okay.
a weird segue there, but anyway, go on.
But I feel like I need to check it. I was going to watch that. Give you more time.
I think so. I have hazy memories of this, but anyway, carry on.
Oh, I need one of those then. No, I just
Shout out to Bernard's Watch.
Bernard. But I do. I wish I had more time, and sometimes I feel this frustration that I have far too much to do and not enough time. You want to look after. In the day, I wanted to spend time with my children. In the day, I wanted to go to park, and in the same day, I want to go to work and want to crush it. But sometimes it's like. And I generally go to bed at midnight. By the time I go to bed, I'm physically like I fall asleep at my laptop. So, and then it's like, well, I have to go to sleep because then, the next day starts and I'm going to wake up with them at maybe 6:30. So, and I think there's a frustration. There's an ambitious person who has children and wants to be with them, but also wants to have a successful career. It's kind of accepting that I might need to leave some things on the field of life. And it's kind of like, I think making peace with that. But maybe if I can, help them to be incredible human beings and achieve some and the most important of my goals, then maybe that's enough. So it's that sense of this discomfort and sitting with that and not allowing myself to feel like, oh, maybe life was easier when I didn't have kids, because no, life wasn't easy when you didn't have kids because you don't use your time well when you don't have kids. Yeah. I mean, now I look back and think, oh my God, I had so much time. I should have become a prime minister or something. But so I think there is the frustration there, and I'm learning to just sit with it and think, okay, actually, maybe just move my priorities around a bit. Maybe just cut out something that's so important, and maybe make some harsh decisions that just let some things go so I can do other things, and maybe just not achieve certain things that maybe they're not as important.
I think that's super deep, actually. I really do. I've not thought about it like that before. Of like, maybe there are things I have to put to bed that maybe I'm not going to get the chance to do, and that's okay. I do quite like that. I used to, when I was younger, I used to have one of those things in my head, and you'll probably like this because with your award for reading the most books in your school library.
Oh yeah. Hashtag no friends.
You've always been cool.
It's hashtag no friends. Come on, let's call it out. It's fine.
But I used to think, even if I read from sort of now until the end of time, I could never read every single book that exists, and that I'll be missing out on books and music, and like there's just too much out there already. And that's kind of a similar sort of perspective. Actually, you realize that you aren't going to be able to do everything, and so the time that you have has to become more focused on the things that are important. And yeah, you might not ever get on, I don't know, have a number one single or anything like that. Like that dream's got to go because it's not achievable now. But you know what I mean? I think you can still have those ambitions, but you have to narrow them down. You've got to pick the ones that you have the time and the desire to complete.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I think like I was reading this book about the life lessons this man thought he wanted to share with everyone. He said, spend twice as much time with your children and half the amount of money on them. Because he said, at the end of life, that's what will matter. So now I think to myself, at the end of my life, will my legacy be, she was just an incredible mom to us. My mom was just, she really shaped us. She poured herself into us.
Mm-hmm.
Or will it be like, oh, my mom was quite busy and, she tried
But she
something.
bought some nice toys.
Yeah, she bought some toys and she was there, but a lot of times she did go to work a lot. And because that's what I think of my dad. My dad spent a lot of time working, but I understand it was trying his best. And at that time, there was no working from home. There was no, but reality is times have changed. I can work from home. I have the internet. I can, learn some productivity tools. I can let go of some things. So it's just that consciousness around like, there is a frustration. Where do we go from here? What do we need to let go of? Because I do want my children to, that is my priority. I can't, like, I would give up everything for that. So it's just that awareness now and doing that, giving everything to that. And then everything else has to be second, I think, for me.
Yeah.
It has to be. This is very important to me.
Beautiful. Honestly, I think good way to end it there. Really nice.
Yeah, just, that's it. The frustration of being a mum and trying to balance everything. But we've got this, ladies. We will continue to hopefully shed some light on that for you with some guests that we have coming.
Yeah, we're going to hopefully be recording with 2 different guests this week. So that'll be good.
That will be great. Thank you again, everyone. It's been interesting and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.